Hello and welcome back to another edition of Inside the Inferno. I'm Ian King, joined alongside my co-host Kamana Kai Janagabis. And Kai, what a week it's been in Tempe and beyond for these Sun Devil athletes.
I couldn't agree more, Ian. Sun Devil athletics have been red hot and everybody has gotten their fair share of the limelight. And we've got it all here inside the Inferno.
We've witnessed a great stretch of ASU sports this past week with volleyball, soccer, and football all in the mix. Our Tanner Buck returns in studio to break down the top plays of the week in his signature segment, the Sun Devil 6.
Thanks, Ian. I cannot wait to be the one to start us off into this week's edition of the Sun Devil 6. Starting on the gridiron at number 6 is quarterback Sam Levitt on the RPO, scrambling. It has both defenders lean in with the step back juke, then makes two more defenders miss, crashing into each other with a spin move, turning to a potential sack into a positive 15 yards for the first down in the second quarter against Texas State. At number 5, watch the leap of faith by libero Faith Frame, who dives for the saving sprawl to keep the rally alive, leading to the 10th point scored in the fourth set against Texas State. Forward Cameron Valadares' goal against UTEP comes in at number 4. Valadares switches gears after the pass, crossing her defender and finishing her left foot into the back of the net. At number 3 is midfielder Peyton Marcis, who perfectly locates this corner kick and finds defender Lucy Fazakerly on target, who heads it into the goal between a defender and the goalie for the ASU soccer team to take a 2-1 lead against UTEP. A one-person wrecking crew in Thomason makes another appearance this week at the second best play. She weaves through defenders with flawless control of the ball and uncorks a heater past two more defenders and the goalie, putting the Sun Devils up 2-1 in the second half against UTEP. At number 1, swerving like lightning McQueen, Levitt ka-chows past both defenders and floats one off of 1 foot to his partner in crime, Jordan Tyson, who soars over the defender for the touchdown against Texas State. This marks the 4th touchdown the duo has connected for this season. Guys, that is all for this week's explosive edition of the Sun Devil 6. As I toss it back to Ian and Kai, back at the desk.
Thank you, Tanner. It's always great to hear about the biggest and brightest stars in the Sun Devil world. But what about some of the previous stars that were able to go pro and shine on the professional spotlight? Here's Brennan Bucher with more on the Pro Devils.
Thanks, guys. The success of the Sun Devils doesn't end when they stop donning the maroon and gold. Let's take a deep dive into the pro success of ASU alum recently. And we'll start with former Arizona State wrestler Zahid Valencia, who won 2 NCAA titles at ASU and just became the oldest United States wrestler to win his first world title in 19 years. He beat Hayato Ishiguro 12-0 in Sunday's 86-kilo freestyle final, taking home gold. Moving over to the ice, former goalie Joey Decord has been having a phenomenal NHL career and has been making headlines not only with his great play, but his unique helmet and face mask. He's played for 2 NHL teams, the Ottawa Senators and his current squad, the Seattle Kraken, boasting a career 2.76 goals against average and a .906 save percentage, and he also notches 5 shutouts. Decord joined TNT recently and gave praise to ASU's hockey program.
Have been showing Sparky on your helmet pretty much your entire career. The pride that you have for that school, the love that you have for that school, the fact that you'll likely be in their Hall of Fame, how much of an outpouring do you have for Arizona State?
I've told the story a lot, but they were the only school to offer me a scholarship. Coach Powers recruited me, and they were the only school, really, that gave me that opportunity that I needed. And, you know, I couldn't be more grateful to the university, to the athletic program for giving me that chance. Yeah, I always try to represent Sparky on my mask. I think that's something that's kind of cool. It's fun with the fans, especially my ASU, fellow ASU alums and students, that they know that Sparky's always going to be on my masks. And check them out. I got 3 new masks this year. I got a home mask, an away mask, and a third mask, and he's on all of them. So you gotta go on the hunt for him.
2 Sun Devils made an impact in the National Football League. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers needed a touchdown to win, and from the 2-yard line with 6 seconds to go, Rashad White scored the game-winning touchdown against the Houston Texans. 2024 ASU star running back Cam Skattebo made his impact on the high-scoring affair between the New York Giants and Dallas Cowboys. In the classic Skattebo running style that Sun Devil fans are used to seeing, he powered his way in for his first NFL touchdown from a yard out. Though the Giants did lose, Skattebo had 11 rushes for 45 yards. The former Sun Devils are performing at high levels beyond ASU, and with that, I'll toss it back to the desk.
Thanks, Brennan. It was announced Thursday that ASU and Kansas are discussing possibly relocating their 2026 matchup to Wembley Stadium in London. Our Kobe Bronstein joins us at the desk to talk about the Sun Devils going overseas for the first time in over 30 years. Kobe, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
This is a fascinating development. What more can you tell us at this point about the matchup coming up next year?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple really interesting factors, a lot of moving parts that still need to be put together, but what we do know for this matchup is that it's part of a new multi-year event called the Union Jack Classic. But the biggest hurdle is both Kansas and ASU have to shuffle its schedules to make a matchup across the pond possible. And September 19th is the date in question. And right now, Kansas is actually scheduled to host Middle Tennessee, and Arizona State is set to play Hawaii at home on the same day. So both teams would need to shift those games to earlier dates. Possibly a week 0 matchup could be in play at the informal beginning of the college football season to free up September 19th for this Big 12 conference showdown.
These two teams were originally supposed to face off next year in Lawrence during Big 12 play. So why would Kansas consider moving a home game and losing it for the season?
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, at where the Jayhawks play, David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium, say that 5 times fast, it's a mouthful. They're undergoing a second phase of renovations next year, which will reduce its capacity. So Kansas officials see this as a golden opportunity to move what would have been a home game to Wembley Stadium and play in such a unique, raucous environment that could be up to 90,000 fans.
College football has been to Dublin, Ireland in recent years, but when was the last time a game was played in England?
Ian, you got to go all the way back to 1988. Believe it or not, this is just the second ever game in England. Richmond beat Boston University in London's Crystal Palace area. It was a close game in that one, but this will be the first ever FBS matchup. And the NFL goes to England regularly, but college football, it's all about those electric on-campus atmospheres that are impossible to replicate overseas. But for ASU, this would only be its second game outside of the country. They played in Tokyo, Japan against Houston back in 1990, a wild 62-45 loss. And for Kansas, this is their first ever game outside the U.S., so certainly new territory for both teams. But again, the bottom line is there are still some logistics to iron out before it's official. But if all goes as planned and the stars align perfectly, we're going to see a very exciting matchup come next September in Wembley between Kansas and Arizona State.
Big 12 conference play overseas would be game changer for college football. Thank you for joining us at the desk, Kobe. And while we're on the topic of Big 12 conference play, ASU soccer and BYU just wrapped up their first conference game last night. Number 10, BYU came into Tempe last night with the hopes to strip Arizona State of its undefeated record, but left with its second loss of the season. Sun Devil forward Cameron Valderas and the reigning Big 12 Player of the Week, Addison Baltonato, each tallied a goal and an assist in the matchup. On the Cougar side of the pitch, sophomore Presley Freeman was able to add some late life to the BYU offense after an assist from sophomore midfielder Micah Cromanhook in the 84th minute. However, the Sun Devils would ultimately be able to lock things down on defense and keep the scoring at bay, with the game resulting in a 2-1 finish, keeping their undefeated season alive and pulling off the upset. This win for the Maroon and Gold marks their first victory over a top 10 opponent since 2020. More notably, it is just their second time in program history that the team has won 8 of its first 9 games. The Sun Devils now look at 10 straight Big 12 matchups before the playoffs in November.
Speaking of playoffs, number 8 ASU volleyball wrapped up its Texas State Invitational Tournament just a week ago. With a 6-2 record, their eyes are set on a new 3-game tournament taking place here in the Valley this weekend. Our John Kinney has more on the Sun Devil Classic.
Sun Devil Volleyball returns home to Tempe this weekend to host the Sun Devil Classic, where they'll face Pepperdine tonight, Grand Canyon tomorrow night, and they'll close out the Sun Devil Classic on Sunday afternoon against Milwaukee. Pepperdine comes into the Sun Devil Classic with an overall record of 5-3. Pepperdine is no stranger to facing top 25 teams. They faced then-ranked UCLA earlier this month and defeated the Bruins 3-1. Pepperdine is led by sophomore outside hitter Maggie Bauer and sophomore outside hitter Chloe Preventagov. Bauer leads the team in total kills with 88 on the season, and Preventagov is second on the team in kills with 84. Grand Canyon comes in with an overall record of 6-2. The Lopes are led by senior outside hitter Alana Ramirez, who leads the team with 92 kills on the season. The Lopes blocking game has received attention, with graduate middle blocker Hayden Goodman being ranked 11th in the country and first in the Midwest Conference in blocks per set with 1.57 blocks per set. and Milwaukee comes in winless at 0-10. The Panthers are led by senior outside hitter Natalie Schmitz, who leads the team with 92 kills on the season. For Inferno Intel, I'm John Kinney.
Thank you, John. While Sun Devil Volleyball may be cooking up another stellar season behind JJ Van Neel, they're not the only ones who have been cooking as of late. So here's Ashton Sharon with Crook's Kitchen.
Thanks, Kai. Known as a spark plug, linebacker Jordan Crook continued his dominance en route to being named Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. One part of the Werewolves is regarded by the coaching staff. Crook became the second Sun Devil to earn Big 12 Player of the Week honors this season. Crook cooked up a monster game, slicing his way to record 12 tackles, 3.5 of which were for a loss, and a sack. He diced up in the run game, holding the Bobcats offense to 2.8 yards per carry, a low mark for a team that averages 5.3 yards. Head coach Kenny Dillingham praised Crook's work ethic and mentality, and both have been on display for the Sun Devils. Crook is no stranger to the big moment, as the former Arkansas Razorback has played some elite competition, and that will continue when Arizona State travels to Waco to take on the Baylor Bears tomorrow.
Thank you, Ashton. Let's see if Crook and the rest of the team can bring that momentum into Texas and come out with a win. But it takes more than momentum to travel into a Big 12 team's territory and come out on top. To break down the headlines of this game, our Adam Cunin is in studio to return with his segment, Cunin's Keys.
Thanks, Ian. After an up-and-down start to the non-conference slate for Arizona State, they finally made it to Big 12 play with a record of 2-1. And a great challenge lies ahead in the Baylor Bears, who welcome Sparky to McLean Stadium tomorrow evening. Last time the Sun Devils hit the road, it didn't fare too well for them. So let's take a look at what ASU needs to do to pick up a win tomorrow night. Here's Volume 2 of Cunin's Keys. And would you look at that, we actually start with the same first key that I had last time. Run the ball. ASU has been led by junior running back Raleek Brown, who's kind of emerged as the leader of this group of tailbacks. His average of 8.3 yards per carry places him 8th in the nation in that category. Additionally, junior Kanye Udo has also done a nice job of mixing in, and the group should receive a boost from the return of Kyson Brown, who missed the last 2 games with injury. And if that wasn't enough, this is a Baylor defense that ranks 115th in the nation in rushing defense, allowing just 188 rushing yards per game. Auburn went into Waco and ran for 300 yards on the Bears in Week 1. So once again, ASU should come in and lean on the ground game. All right, give me that next key. Pressure quarterback Sawyer Robertson. Last week, the Sun Devils recorded a season high of 5 sacks against Texas State, showing that this pass rush has the potential to really get after the quarterback. However, this week, defensive line pressure will be of extra importance as ASU secondary works through some injuries, with the leader of the defense in senior defensive back Xavier Alford banged up, and sophomore defensive back Montana Warren questionable for tomorrow night. Meanwhile, Baylor brings in a high-flying offense. Robertson ranks 2nd in the FBS in passing yards with 1,070 passing yards through 3 games. If defensive coordinator Brian Ward and his defense can't force Robertson off his spot tomorrow, he will pick apart this banged-up secondary. So maybe look for Ward to dial up some more heat with some extra blitzers. All right, on to our last key. Win on 3rd down. Arizona State doesn't need to be perfect on 3rd down, but it needs to be better than its abysmal .27 3rd down conversion percentage. This is where quarterback Sam Leavitt needs to step up and elevate his teammates. On the flip side, the ASU defense has to also get off the field on 3rd down, which they've done a good job of doing so far, allowing just a .28 conversion percentage on 3rd down. It'll need to continue this trend into tomorrow to nab a win. History is not on ASU's side, as the Devils haven't won a conference opener on the road since 2014. However, I wouldn't count out the Maroon and Gold, especially considering the way they played against Texas State. Guys?
That will do it for this week's edition of Inside the Inferno. A lot to look forward to in the weeks to come. In both of our anchoring debuts, a privilege to share the desk with you, Rumi.
The privilege was all mine, Ian. If you want to keep up with everything Arizona State athletics, don't forget to follow us on X and Instagram at Inferno Intel, and check out our website at infernointelmedia.com. For Ian King and our entire crew behind the scenes, I'm Kamana Kai Jenagabis, and thank you for tuning in to Inside the Inferno.